This is Catherine Grace Bond, and I'm taking a little private writing retreat today out at my little lake retreat here, aka the cabana. I have my snacks and my scrivener, and I'm doing sprints. So that's what I've been doing the last few days, just writing down the time and how many minutes and how many words, and it's been pathetically few. So today's going to be a big push for more words on my novel. That's really interesting. I just ran into the screen door. I was going to make this great graceful exit out of the cabana so that you could see the lake, and I just ran directly into the screen door. So that was Grace is my middle name, right? So I was thinking today about Berthe Morisot. And she, if you don't know who she was one of the original French Impressionists. She was part of that group with Renoir and Monet and not Cassatt. Cassatt came later, Mary Cassatt. So Mary Cassatt became the second of the women Impressionists. But the first one was Berthe Morisot. She was very good friends with Edouard Manet. And there's this incident that I was thinking about where she had invited him over to have a look at one of her paintings that was getting ready to go to the Salon, which was the great place of judging of all French art, whether it was worthy or not. And so she said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Oh, well, I do not know. I think it needs a little here and a little more light there." And so he took some paint and he started making changes to her piece. And by the time he was done, he had significantly changed her painting, and there was no time for her to fix it because it had to be crated up and sent off to the Salon. So she wrote this letter to her sister Edma, who also was a painter, not one of the Impressionists. Edma ended up getting married and quitting art because Berthe was very unique as a woman to stay with her art, and it took her a long time to get married, as women were expected to do. But this incident with Edouard Manet prompted a scene in my own book. I thought that is just so hilarious that I had to have it happen to my character. So she's got this magical charcoal pencil and she's sketching things, and then things are appearing as she sketches them, so it's really strange and bizarre. And her very first encounter with Edouard Manet after she's traveled back in time, who, by the way, was known as the father of the Impressionists, but was never considered an Impressionist himself. He never joined that group. He takes a look at her sketch and he's very admiring about it. And then he takes that charcoal pencil, another piece of charcoal, and he starts to change it. This is very amateur. You see, the focal point is completely off. You need to change this, and, anyway. So it was really fun, and it's going to stay in the book. But it did get me thinking about Alice and how she has tended to be a pleaser. She's taken action, but it's generally been at the behest of someone else. She tends to react more than act. And I need to fix that in my book. It's part of her character arc, but that's what I wanted to talk about today, is how do you have a character who happens to their life instead of life simply happening to them? Because people don't want to follow a character around for 300 pages who is seemingly passive and who seems to be a victim. So this is my lake, and these are my ducks and geese. I guess this is mostly geese here. No, we've got geese and ducks. I do not see the one that I used to call Myrna, which is sort of a black and white river duck. If I see her, I will tell you. People are walking their dogs, but I was talking to a neighbor about this duck who I had sort of a little story about how this duck was part of this couple, and they'd been together for years, and they would just sort of float on the water and do duck things and, stick their little butts in the air and what ducks do. And she said, "Oh, that one. I call that one Murder Duck." And I said, "Murder Duck?" "Yeah," she said, "'cause I saw him one time take another duck out to the center of the lake and drown it." And I never thought the same about Myrna since then, and I have seen Murder Duck swimming around out here almost every time I've been out. And, well, that is a protagonist who is happening to his own story. But what if you don't want your protagonist to be a murderer? What if you want something else? Did you see that? Did you see that? And I opened that screen door and I didn't walk into it. That's pretty cool. What if you want your protagonist to grow from perhaps being reactive to being more active? You need to think about, make a list of what's happening in your novel. Make a list of of the incidents that are moving the plot forward. Are those incidents that are created by your character or are simply a reaction by your character? Now, you can have reaction scenes. Absolutely you can. Unexpected things happen, and the character has to take action as a result. But how often is your protagonist making a decision and moving forward on that decision? So one thing that you can do is you can have the protagonist surprise whoever the opponent is, whoever's standing in her way. She might do something that they completely do not expect, something uncharacteristic of her. Because that's part of growth, is us stepping outside of our comfort zones and doing some things that are unexpected. So you might want to make a list of ways that the character can do things that are unexpected, ways that the character can question the status quo and then change it. Make a list of those. Make a list of things that might just be that tipping point for your character, where she decides, I'm not going to be a passive participant here, or I'm not just going to be reacting, I'm going to act and I'm going to move my story forward. So that's what I'm going to be pondering today during my retreat, is how can Alice, and she does take action, she does take a lot of action in this book. I mean, she's not an entirely passive character. I haven't done 50,000 words of passivity here, but I see that I really need to make some dramatic changes here, particularly now that she's back in time. Can you comment below and talk about what you're going to do in your novel for your character to take some decisive action that will move the plot forward? Make a list of the things that are moving the plot forward. You may notice that quite a few of them are actions taken by other people. And then make a list of things that your protagonist might do to be an actor in his or her own life. And here at the Cabana, we are going to have some retreats and some day workshops. The screenwriting workshop will be here in the fall with Alan Wolfe, so you'll probably want to check into that. Probably do some more day retreats once we start rolling around towards September, and maybe even something that happens a little bit more regularly. So keep checking in, and happy writing. This is Catherine Grace Bond from Beverly Lake.